Well, let's get to our next guest and talking about that buy now, pay later competition that's out there at the moment with Apple entering the space. Really interesting to go and get a pulse check as to what is happening in the ramifications as well for the broader sector. Let's go and bring in Kate Wilson from RFI Global for her thoughts. Kate, welcome to the show. Pretty big news overnight. Everyone knew the competition was coming, but doesn't get any bigger than Apple.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really great to be here. Absolutely, it's a massive change in the space. We've been following Buy Now Pay Later at RFI Global for a number of years here, really since its inception 2017. And I think it really just supports what our research has been showing. Buy Now Pay Later is here to stay.
All right. So why is it still around? Why the popularity is it at the moment? Because we know that got a really lot of money coming through, stimulus payments and the like back during the early days of the pandemic, which helped to go and help spending. What are some of the other factors we're seeing that's helping this the shift in younger generations in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is younger generations who have been the early adopters of Buy Now Pay Later. But as I said, Buy Now Pay Later is here to stay, and we are seeing older generations start to use it as well. Our research shows that consistently over time, one of the key reasons why consumers use Buy Now Pay Later is because it helps them to budget. So they see it as a way to help manage their spending, how to manage their cash flow. And I think with some of those additional pressures in the market, cash rate increasing today, inflationary pressures, all of that really does support why consumers like using this service and this payment method. It really does help them with managing their money. And as I said, for that reason, it's likely to continue to be used by customers.
Don't think anyone's disputing the growth numbers we're seeing at the moment. What happens if we went down the same path as, say, the way that credit cards are looked at when it comes to those merchants, and they're allowed to go and charge a surcharge to go and use buy now, pay later services? Do you think that would go and make it still as popular as it is today?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that comes up quite a lot. Our data does say that consumers like the service enough and are willing to pay for it. And there are buy now, pay later services out there already where customers are paying either a monthly fee to use it or some other cost. So I think consumers are willing to accept that there may be a cost to use this service. But of course, the fact that it is a free service has definitely helped to drive that growth that we've seen in the market so far.
What do we make about some of the companies that work in the space? Have reported a bit of an uptick in bad debts at the moment. Is that something you're concerned and might need a bit more regulation in that space to go and tighten up lending standards?
Regulation is something that's obviously really topical at the moment. I'm not an economist, so I probably can't comment on what we're seeing there. But I mean, having more regulation in and more just focus on the market is always good for consumers, and making sure that consumers are being protected in the way that they use different services. I think what we're seeing in our data as well is that consumers really do understand buy now, pay later, so they understand the costs that are associated with the fees, and actually quite like it because of the lack of interest. So yeah, I think that what we will continue to see is buy now, pay later really being treated like other banking products, and regulation is of course part of that. But it's a much more mature market than it was a few years ago.
Given there's so much competition coming into the space now, including from Apple, do you expect that some of the margins as well that we're seeing at this point in time might go and get eroded over the next little bit?
I'm not sure about margins. I'm probably not something that I'm an expert on, given my focus is really on the consumer data. But what we do see in our data, one in two consumers, or one in two buy now, pay later users rather, are using multiple services. So that does point to there still being opportunity for new providers in the market. Consumers do like to try new services. They are testing them out and seeing how they compare. Apple's obviously a really massive shift in the market and a change. We've also seen the banks going into this space. We've seen PayPal going into this space. So it does, of course, increase competition, and we're likely to see that playing out in terms of what customers are looking for and what they're expecting from these services, and from their other banking products and traditional credit products as well.